Here we are. Here we are on the day of Cormac McCarthy. Seems his darkest secret. A secret so dark, he was actually looking over his shoulder his entire life, running from the FBI for being a pedophile.
I'm gonna come.
You know, I came to the realization off of a very tiny and weak edible that I took, I don't know, last week, that I need to be more forgiving of others, and I need to stop having these knee-jerk reactions to things. People are very complex. I need to find love in my heart for every man, and first, if I'm going to do that, I got to find love for myself. Lo and behold, one of my gods, one of the greatest men to ever walk this earth, one of the greatest writers at the very least, fell in love with an underage girl. Now, I will say this in defense of Cormac McCarthy, and now, by the way, at American Gwyn is coming on the show. If my dad were alive today, and he is alive, but if he were present within his own life is what I mean. I like to think he'd be proud of me that I have my own racist website. You know, he never made anything of himself. He never made a racist website to defend authors he loves. In their I mean, there seems to be a theme with, J.D. Salinger was in love with like a 14-year-old. So here's what I'll say in defense of Cormac before we have Aaron come on. Here's what I'll say. The thing about Cormac is this girl was, 16, 17. Who knows if it was 16 or 17? I read 17, then I saw an article that says 16. This was posted in the Vanity Fair. Look. The important thing to remember here is he was always in love with her, even when she wasn't a child anymore. She grew up and he still was in love with her. So is that really a guy who's attracted to children, or was he attracted to this the spirit that this woman possessed? And he was so in love, actually. The light for her burned so deeply that the FBI was hunting him. I don't know if that doesn't sound like a pedophile to me. Usually they don't, love her, when she turns a certain age. By the way, pedophile isn't the accurate word here. It's a phebophile. And I didn't look up the age of consent in Arizona. I didn't look that up. Off the top of my head, I don't know what the age of consent laws are in certain states. Just not a thing. I don't retain a lot of knowledge. But that's not the reason I didn't look it up. The reason I didn't look it up is I don't want to ever know what the age of consent laws are. It's not a fun fact to whip out at a party. I don't want to be at a dinner with my daughter's friends and be like, well, actually in Arizona, funny enough, in 1983, it used to be, it was 17. It went down to 16, actually. By the way, can I just say, too, I hope people don't get mad at me for this, but I never cared about the Jerry Seinfeld Shoshana thing with her being 17 and her huge tits and whatnot. Never really bothered me. I've always kind of been vocal about that. People don't really push back with me on that. Never really. I don't know. It didn't seem like, I don't know. Sometimes it seems like the guy, what's his name? Boogie. Do you guys know Boogie? Like this. Okay. So this, if you, I think some relationships, the man can be dating someone who is of age, but That doesn't make them not a pedophile. And is that, I think that's where the gray area is here. You can be a grown man dating another adult, technically, and it's pedophilia. It's worse than what Jerry Seinfeld did. It's way worse than what Cormac McCarthy did, who was a man guided by his own heart. And unfortunately, his heart didn't live within the confines of the law. And the FBI doesn't understand love. They never have. They're a bunch of jokers over there. The FBI is filled to the brim with a bunch of jokers who couldn't possibly understand loving who's slightly, but Cormac was like, oh, but I loved her my whole life. It's not statutory rape in these circumstances. This, however, he should be charged. He should absolutely be. I mean, look at this. Here, let me. Look. This is his supposed consenting adult, and here is the man. Now, even though it was legal, is it? Does that look? What do you see here? I'll let you decide. I'll let you be judge, jury, and executioner and whatnot. That man is should be locked up. And what do they say? Put under the jail? What's the saying? It's absolutely disgusting. I don't believe most adults can consent in America now anyway. This was a different time. People, they read more. When Cormac McCarthy met her, she was outside a motel. She was reading The Orchard Keeper. I mean, that's some of the most, that book, every other page, it's Cormac's first. He was very insecure as a writer. He's LARPing as Faulkner. You never really know what's going on in that book anyway. So she had to have been, sophisticated. Now, can people even consent between one another? The literacy rates are so low. People are filled to the brim with, all sorts of transgender medications, and they have Altrazine up to the gills. They're turning themselves gay. They have smooth brain. They got smooth brain by, people nowadays, you meet them, it's like they just got out of like a rock tumbler or something. They're always disoriented. They're fucking high. Adults can't. Adults are pedophiles now, actually. If you are currently with a woman, and congratulations, by the way, if you are, cheers. If you are currently with a woman and she hasn't read a book since high school, congratulations, you are a pedophile, actually. Sorry, if she can't read at an 8th grade level, you're just... It is what it is. I don't make up the rules, but this is the best defense I can make of someone I love dearly. I read the article. I didn't get creepy vibes. Did you guys get creepy vibes at all? Any sort of anything? Someone said, Ben, she looks 12. Who looks 12? The girl that Boogie's with? Yeah, I know, but she's not 12. Here, I'll pull it up again. She's not, I don't think she's 12, because then he'd be in jail, right? I think she's like, she was according to the FBI, she was a consenting, oh, God. See, this is her now, so she like, supposedly she can, it brings me no joy, by the way, to, God help us. Look, I know this is not, but the FBI, when it chased them, why chase them? They chased Cormac McCarthy, a man who's, he's in the middle of writing Sutri. It's very dense prose. He's under a lot of stress, and he was under a lot of stress. And I think Same thing. And that, by the way, I lumped this in with Jerry Seinfeld. Not a big deal. It was a different time. These aren't 12 and 13-year-old girls. Now, I don't think Aaron is going to call in to defend Cormac because, by the way, Cormac knew what he was doing was wrong. He knew it wasn't right to run away to Mexico with a woman who was like a runaway. She was an orphan. Then the mom starts calling the FBI. You threw this bitch away anyway. What the hell do you care? But you know how these women are. They push you away, then they pull you back in. They all have a lot of these women. They have BPD, especially the mothers of orphans. I imagine severe BPD, drug addicts, making many false claims against a man who was simply, he was, as far as I'm concerned, he was just trying to write a book. That's all he was trying to do, folks. He was trying to write a book. It wasn't revealed that like Cormac McCarthy was at the P. Diddy's party. He wasn't, doing fucking nitrous with Kanye West. Pretty sure. I think he was just, if he ever came to Hollywood, he would go to like Mel's Diner with the Coen brothers with a couple of boring, depressed Jews. If he ever came to LA, which I know he did because he's in the, you can see him in the Oscars thing when No Country Wins or whatever. But we're going to hear from an expert. We're going to hear from a professor of English, a great novelist, my good friend, Aaron Gwyn. Let me see if we can get him on the line here. I don't think Aaron is calling to talk specifically about defending Cormac. He simply wants to talk about the article. So we'll see where he's coming from on it. Look. Okay, here we go. I'm calling Aaron. Here we are. Okay, here we go. At American Gwyn, you guys can all follow him. Aaron, I think you're on the show. Welcome, buddy.
What's up?
Nothing. I was just trying to find a way to defend Cormac the best I could, but
oh, good grief.
Well, no, I mean, he knew it was wrong what he was doing. He was very well aware he was being chased by the FBI.
Well, yeah. If Vanity Fair, the writer, by the way, says that they were unable to verify that there was any investigation.
Oh, interesting.
Law enforcement. That's actually in the article. So
okay, I'm bringing up this. You wanted me to show this picture of the author, right?
Yeah, let people have a gander.
Where is this fella? I'm looking for him. I thought you posted him on your Twitter. Did you delete it?
But I sent it to you to your text messages.
That you did. Hold on. Give me a second here. By the way, everybody follow Gwen at American Gwyn. Follow him. He's a good man. Yeah, here we go. Here's the damn shit. That's him. I mean, it's not the it's a little blurry, but you can, I mean, it gives us more room to dream about how the credibility of this guy. I don't know if I trust this guy to bring my order back to the kitchen if I told it to him.
Yeah, are you pulling?
Yeah, I'm showing him on the screen right now. This is who wrote the article. And by the way, it's so unfortunate that, all of these biographers who are writing about Cormac's life and, sifting through the dirt, that they're trying to get a hold of this lady who supposedly had this relationship with him her whole life. And she chooses this guy to actually meet with. It's unfortunate.
You take one look at that guy and you think that guy fucks.
Yeah, he does. I bet. I mean, So here is my defense of Cormac with the whole thing is
Oh boy.
he he was in love with her up until the time of his death, supposedly. So like he's not like it's not a Lolita kind of situation. Like he fell in love with like her spirit.
That's your defense? That's I just imagine like Cormac's on trial. Cormac's on trial. And then like you walk in and like, Your Honor, he was in love with her soul.
He was in love with her soul, and we know that the soul has no age.
Cormac turns to the judge and says, could someone get this dumb motherfucker out?
Why is he representing me? Before we get into, by the way, everybody follow at American Gwyn. Yeah, he's gonna kill him.
Thank you.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Here's at American Gwyn. Everybody, make sure follow him. Read his books. I still haven't got your book has still not come in the mail. I know I already read it last year, but
damn it. I sent it out, like mailed it out last Monday, which was Veterans Day, but it should have been there by now, that's distressing.
Yeah, I don't know why I haven't got it. Anyway, can I say a couple things about which was really interesting to me about the article was so can I tell you first of all the thing I find unbelievable about the whole story?
Okay. Lay it on me.
So the huge red flag for me is that he supposedly met her and she had a copy of The Orchard Keeper in her hand. How many copies of The Orchard Keeper were in circulation even then?
I've looked into it. So, by the way, she said that
wow, okay.
She saw him by the pool, ran back to her house. She was reading The Orchard Keeper, which she said she had a little paperback. The paperback that she would have did not have McCarthy's author photo on it. She said she recognized him from his author photo on the back of the paperback. I posted pictures of the paperback. There is no photo of Cormac McCarthy.
Really? You posted these?
Yep.
Okay, I got to look this up right now. Okay, so right there we have a hole in the story. Do you buy this broad story? What do we think?
I think, I have a thread about this. I've known about her existence for a while. I didn't know her name. I didn't know her age when she met McCarthy, but I'd known that there was a young woman in his life. I believe they had a relationship. I believe the principal thrust of the story is accurate as far as I can tell. So I believe, she has a bunch of his letters. They verified that, a bunch of love letters. She says she was the age she was when they met. I don't have a reason to doubt it. It's not only inappropriate, it's illegal. I don't think anyone needs to defend that. It's what it is. It is what it is. For me, the problem is that the writer, this beautiful young man you just brought up for everybody, that the writer of the Vanity Fair piece didn't fact check very basic facts. Like the original version of the article said he died in 2022.
I saw that.
Yeah, I tweeted at Vanity Fair and they went in and changed the article. So
if you're a fan of him, by the way, how do you even get that wrong?
Dude,
I remember exactly where I was,
Why am I having to copy edit this motherfucker's article?
Well, you're the premier Cormac scholar amongst many things.
I guess. So there's the thing about the Orchard Keeper. McCarthy's photo isn't on the paperback of the Orchard Keeper. Then she says when she met him, quote, I was wearing jeans and a work shirt, and I had a holster with a Colt revolver in it, which I had taken to wearing. I had stolen it from the man who ran the foster home. And Cormac looked at me and he said, little lady, are you going to shoot me? And I said, no. Okay. So it's possible that a 16-year-old girl is walking around the streets of Tucson, Arizona in broad daylight in 1976 with a holstered pistol on her hip. But I find that very, very unlikely. Very unlikely.
Why is that?
Well, for one thing,
I mean, what's more American than a child with a gun?
A child with an Uzi. But open carry wasn't a thing in Arizona until 2010. And I believe anyone who saw a 16-year-old girl with a pistol on her hip would have said, "Hey, what are you doing with a pistol on your hip?"
Yeah, you're probably right. I think, I guess there's a bunch of fact and fiction in here, right? I mean, the woman seems to have had a pretty bad childhood. You know, she claims that she was wandering around with this gun and everything. I don't know.
I mean, she sounds. I have nothing but sympathy for her. She sounds like she had a horrific childhood, horribly abused, etc. Then the story goes on. She says that her and McCarthy went out onto a playa in back of the house, and he arranged bottles for target practice. Britt nailed them all. Her name is Britt. Then he threw up a leather strop he carried. Britt shot it straight through the center. Okay, this is the first moment where I can say definitively, no, she did not. No, she did not. With a Colt pistol, any pistol, someone is going to throw up a leather strop. And what is McCarthy doing carrying around a leather strop? Like, what's that all about? Who carries a leather strop? Anyway, whatever. He throws up a leather strop and she shoots it first try with a Colt pistol, any pistol. Now, it's possible, but that's the kind of shooting that trick shooters do. Like professional trick shooters would have difficulty making that shot.
And now, is a strop, that's what you sharpen a straight razor with, right, for shaving?
Correct.
And aren't they pretty wide, like a wrestling belt, kind of, or are they thin?
They can be thick, kind of like a weightlifting belt. I've seen them a little thinner. I don't know why he has one in his back pocket, but just let's stand her that Cormac McCarthy went around carrying a leather strop.
Okay.
She did not shoot it out of the air. Like, she's not a professional trick shooter. But I'm sorry, she could be embellishing, and that's all fine and everything, but that didn't happen. I talked to Philip Meyer about this.
Who wrote The Sun, a great novelist and brilliant man.
Great novel, right? I just got off the phone with him. I'm like, what do you think about her shooting the strop? He's like, what? And I reminded him, and he was like, oh, that didn't happen. Like, there's 0% chance that happened.
Yeah, it seemed like bullshit.
Yeah. So, hey, that's fine. I believe she had a relationship with McCarthy, which is the main thing. Moving on. She says that one time after there was a flood in her town, she, quote, came home to a burglar shuffling through her house while McCarthy's love letters lay strewn about the kitchen table, and she kneecapped him with the non-lethal bullet of a Byrna pistol she kept in her purse for just such occasions. Now, I didn't even have to mention that to Philip. He was immediately like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, and you guys are like gun experts, by the way.
I wouldn't call myself an
combat
expert.
Experts.
Well, Philip is certainly, I mean, he's a competitive shooter and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just like, okay, that's obviously, again, I don't mind that she's kind of embellishing this stuff and is, telling, making the story more interesting and building up her mythology. That doesn't invalidate any of like her claims about her relationship with Cormac McCarthy, which I believe. I believe she's telling the truth about that. But I'm just saying that if I were the Vanity Fair, if I were the writer who put the article out and the copy editor and the editor, I would have taken that stuff out because people will use that to question the veracity of her other claims.
I will say and thank God you're, keeping these people in line because, who watches the Watchmen? It's Aaron Gwyn. But doesn't my last name mean Elf Council and yours means the Huntsman?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I like Elf Council, the counselor to all those elves out there and
well, Benjamin
on the internet.
Benjamin means the right hand of God, right? I think Benjamin
something like that.
Yeah, I think Benjamin's the right hand of God, and Avery means Elf Council. And the origins of your name is connected to that somehow. I forget. We talked on the phone once.
That's
about
right.
this.
Someone in the chat just said Cormac looks like he cruised a lot of Planet Fitnesses around 3 a.m.
Well, so for years, Aaron, we've been talking, but before Cormac before he even passed away, we had the conversation about his death and how you were going to feel about that for a long time. And, because I know when Van Halen died, that was a big deal for you. And
huge.
Because
the only two celebrity deaths I've ever cared anything about, Cormac and Eddie.
Yeah, and who knows why we become connected to, these people become like constellations, right? They become like our North Star. A musician,
Absolutely.
a filmmaker, a novelist, whatever. But Cormac, I said to you when we first developed a friendship, when I first started trying to write, and you were helping guide me with that stuff. The more I looked into Cormac and was reading, and I was going through every one of his books and trying to watch every interview and dig up I was digging up articles from newspapers in the 1960s, I think, from the Tennessee area and stuff. And then all the way up to his time at the Santa Fe Institute, I said to you, and you were confirming this too, like he lost his way once he went to that institute. He lost his ability to write. He must have been incredibly depressed. I was like, look at this photo. He's drinking this was before he died, so a lot of these photos weren't even circulating. Right. I was like, look, he's drinking scotch. But what about the quote, the famous quote where he says alcohol is a hazard for writers?
Right.
And then in this article, it confirmed almost everything I thought about his time at the Santa Fe Institute. These people corrupted him. They intoxicated him. Villains. I think so. I don't trust people that lean upon their own understanding. Cormac certainly never did. His whole life, he wandered in the desert and wrote about cowboys. He didn't fucking have a clue. He even recommended to this woman that
he was out there with 16-year-old girls, He certainly didn't have a clue.
I guess you're right. He was running from the FBI in Mexico. That's not a man who leans upon his own understanding.
No, he was living raw.
And he recommended to her that she reads Carl Jung, Dreams. And when I was going through Aeons, I saw that was the first time I saw anybody ever talk about the Stella Maris, which is the shining star of the sea, which is the supposed mythological fish or whatever the hell, or star that glows very hot at the bottom of the ocean. But regardless, this confirmed everything I thought about the Santa Fe Institute. That stuff I am choosing to, I don't know, I don't have a reason to not believe in any of that stuff. I don't know what you thought about it. I think he was fucking really depressed for the last 15 years of his life, and he gave up the ghost.
Yes. I think so too, and that's what the article says. But I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit. When I read the article, one of the first things I thought is when we first started talking several years back, you said, man, I think those Santa Fe fuckers really screwed him up. And I was like, oh, what do you mean? You're like, man, his work takes a nosedive. And he seems like he starts, he gives an interview, pretty much a materialist, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And
for anybody that doesn't, everybody. So at the last interview he gave, he said, "I'm more of a materialist," which means he says he can't prove that anything exists outside of anything in any sort of cells or atoms outside of that. Like he's basically denying anything metaphysical, which goes against his entire every single thing he ever worked on. It goes against that. It made no sense to me.
I agree. No, and you spotted that right off. And I was like, I don't know. That's a little dismissive, but damned if that article that came out today didn't confirm every bit of that, and that he'd started drinking again at the end of his life after being sober all these years.
Because he was depressed.
I mean, it's quite sad.
Yeah.
It's sad what happened to this girl. It's sad, where he ended up.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it seemed in 2005 he stopped writing, and that was around the time he moved. And it looks like he was just capable of maybe even doing his best work, like this last great piece. But just nothing ever. Like you read The Passenger, it reads as if it's just a man. The plot is like disorienting. We never even find out who the passenger was, and like, is that is that a metaphor for him trying to find God at the end of his life and not being able to find him? And the whole thing just is bad.
I will say, and again, like I've said this several times, I just, I don't want this to get clipped. And Aaron Gwyn defends Cormac McCarthy. I'm not defending.
Well, I already did that.
Him running away to Mexico with a 16, 17-year-old girl. It's indefensible. There's a ton of stuff about underage relationships in McCarthy's novels from about the time she says she met McCarthy to the end of his life. You have in Sutri, that passage where Sutri goes up north and he's hanging out with Wanda and that family, and she's like a 15-year-old kid, and they start having sex, and then
don't reveal how she dies. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. And then it's amazing, right? You have all this stuff in Blood Meridian about Judge Holden's pedophilia. You have John Grady Cole involved. I mean, he's underage too, but it's underage love.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have John Grady Cole involved with a Mexican prostitute I think he's around 20 and she's like 15, 16. You have that again in No Country for Old Men, the runaway that Llewellyn Moss picks up on the side of the road in the novel, right? You have this incestuous, unconsummated relationship between Bobby Western and his much younger teenage sister, Alicia. So it's all over Cormac's work.
Yeah, as is, incest. But I don't, think he ever...
As is incest.
I mean, it made perfect sense. I was like, oh yeah, that, and yeah, I was like, yep, I see all the connections here. But if someone has read all of his work, they could easily fabricate these things and draw these connections. I was relieved because I've told you for a long time it really upset me that he had a son that he never talked to.
Yes,
and you told me you heard. I think you told me you heard that they had maybe rekindled a friendship at the end, or
and the article mentions that. The article mentions that they reconcile.
But then that whole scene in Sutri makes sense, where the family hated him, and that's why. And he's watching the funeral from afar. It would make sense that the family just didn't want him to be a part of his son's life because of his, his rock and roll lifestyle. Yeah.
By the way, one of the kind of meta things about this piece coming out today, and I know that I don't even like to say woke. I don't even know what it means anymore. But whatever it is that people refer to as woke, like there's been this huge culture shift over the last couple of years away from all that stuff. In 2021, can you imagine Vanity Fair publishing a piece about Cormac McCarthy having an underage relationship and then starting it by saying, "I'm about to tell you the craziest love story of all time"?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? It's framed.
It's a shift.
The whole thing is not framed as look at what a POS McCarthy was. The whole thing is framed as, look at this amazing love story. Right, which means not only did the writer frame it that way, but the editor at Vanity Fair, the magazine got behind that. And then several times in the piece, the woman isn't trying to cancel McCarthy. She literally says twice, "He saved my life."
Yeah, I mean, look at this. This is Variety. This was in 2020. John Wayne exhibit to be removed at USC following protests over actors' racist remarks. And then here's a great photo of John Wayne. That looks so good. God, I love him. That's what Variety was doing then.
I mean, incredibly different, like a seismic shift. And of course, I'm seeing people online, light the writer up for like framing it in that particular way, which there's going to be that. And I think, McCarthy's do some, what do you want to call it? I mean, the guy's dead. Criticism or whatever. People are saying that this is like this totally tarnishes his legacy. I would just say we'll have to see what happens with that. It's very hard to predict. I would be surprised if most readers care one way or the other.
Yeah, I don't think anyone cares, man. Especially when it's that long ago. The context of it is always different when you find out these things happen, and like it's weird. But it's always when it like happened in like the early 70s, you go, wow. This was also, I mean, do you remember Cosby going on Carson and talking about, he's like, oh, you just put something in their drink and everyone's laughing?
I mean, insane behavior. I saw a tweet, though, just a random tweet, not from an account I follow, but a guy said, people finding out that Cormac McCarthy, the author of Blood Meridian, was into some dark shit, apparently. It's like, I mean, I don't think it's ultimately surprising that McCarthy had demons and that McCarthy did some really heinous shit. I don't see that as surprising. I don't think it's going to change the way I read Blood Meridian. I mean, I think the judge,
he has nothing.
The judge wins that book, right? The pedophile is triumphant in that particular novel. So,
yeah. I mean, he's more than a pedophile, right? He's like the. He's more than just a pedophile. He's a genocidal maniac.
Like, no. He's more than just a pedophile. He's more than that.
He's weird. Well, he's also an artist. He's
also an artist.
He's a judge. He's of counterfeit coins. He's a general. He's a murderer.
Right. Mass murderer.
He's a vicious racist. He's a child murderer. He's a pedophile. But he's also, he's a friend. He's a storyteller.
He's a friend. Listen, you're like someone coming out after Louis C.K. You're like, listen, the guy jerked off, but he's a friend. You're like Judge Holden. Yes, he's a ruthless pedophile child killer. He's also a storyteller.
He is.
He's also
he's a musician. We always forget the judge is a musician. He's playing the violin at the end, isn't he?
Motherfucker shreds.
Like that scene in Revenge of the Nerds when he has the electric violin. He was just shredding at the end of that book and dancing.
Yeah. And Tobin says he's the best fiddler I ever heard, right? He's
he's an alchemist.
Like the fucking Eddie. He's an alchemist. The guy can do it all. Ben, the guy can do it all, and he does do it all.
Hey, imagine now what now let's take David Lee Roth out of Van Halen. Let's put in the judge, and now we have a band. That's a fucking band. I think some people are saying we just need to grow up, and they're like Cormac just grew up, and we're like I guess we're idealist. I guess I don't know, but it seems that and we're just saying I don't know. It's just these are the things they're saying in the chat that This is something we've talked about too. Is like when you get old, you just become like gay and R-worded.
Yeah, you do. You know what? Here's one of the craziest things about the piece. I mean, the stuff about Cormac's relationship with this girl, obviously crazy. Something else that's crazy. The genesis of this whole thing was a Substack article that this writer wrote a couple of years ago, and then this woman, Britt, she made a comment on the Substack about knowing McCarthy and having a relationship with him. And then she said, and this is in the piece, she said she fretted about it. And she told Cormac, she's like, man, I made this comment on Substack and should I delete it? I'm not trying to get you in trouble. And he said, no, leave it up. Maybe something good will come from it. Which is an interesting thing to say. So he clearly knew, like some part of him knew that this was all going to come out, right? Like people were going to find out this. His buddies knew that this girl was a presence in his life over the course of decades. So
the news had really, I'll be honest, it had no effect on me.
Yeah, I guess it had more effect on. I mean, it had more of an effect on me. I didn't want to believe it.
I mean, is it changing the way you look at the man?
No, because I didn't think he was some paragon of virtue. I knew there was dark shit. I just didn't know what. I would rather he not have done it. But no, it doesn't ultimately change because I don't know McCarthy personally. I know the novels. That's what I've always interacted with. That's what I'll continue to interact with. And it doesn't change the novels for me. But, I'll always, think about it.
Well, his son,
at some level.
Well, the biographies are currently being written and things will be released next year that we'll know about. So,
right.
I mean, who's to say? There was a quote at the end, by the way, from his son, John. He said something to John before he died. I'm trying to remember what it was.
I don't remember. You're right. There was something about that. But I was talking to Philip Meyer about this earlier, and I said, man, this was a guy who, for the first 20 years of his career as a novelist, he published these masterpieces, and then they fell into a complete black hole.
Yeah.
Right?
You call it in the publishing world falling into the void, right? You almost always publish something and it just disappears.
It just disappears eventually, right? It really has to hit. And so he started that relationship before Sutri was published. So that comes out. It's this masterpiece. No one at the time cared. Same with Blood Meridian. And it's not until 1992 he has a big hit with All the Pretty Horses. And then at that point, he had to think, man, there's this dark thing that I've done, and this could come out, and you could get canceled even back then for something like that, right? So it makes sense that there was this really fatalistic, apocalyptic attitude because his world was always about to end because of this.
He always felt like he was running from...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The sword of Damocles was always hovering over his head. But McCarthy was protected by people. He was even protected by this woman who says she loves him.
Yeah.
And he says he saved her.
And she also says that at the end he gave up on all of his... Because what I heard is that he, had these friends since he was 20 up until the time he was dead. But I guess he traded in his friends for celebrities and all these think tank fucks who suck my ass, including the guy who took advantage of him in his last interview when he's,
Lawrence Krauss.
Yeah.
These people are the devil.
I like Krakauer.
I like Krakauer. I think that your raw, intuitive response to really diving into McCarthy deeply for the first time was correct about, there being something really powerful about Sutri and Blood Meridian and the Border Trilogy and No Country. But this, well, for one thing, McCarthy's not a scientist, and he was hanging around with a bunch of scientists to the point that he started putting math equations in his fucking novels. It's that's fine, Cormac, but you're not a physicist. You're a novelist. And so I think that community was detrimental to him in more ways than one.
Yeah, and he became too cynical, I think, because of it. Surrounded by all these, geniuses or whatever. The point I made to you a couple years ago, something I realized about myself, it's the reason why I'm anti institutions. When you're a certain type of person, depending on your profession, and I think this can apply to a lot of different people. Once you get in an institution, all institutions are corrupted by men, and especially if you're supposed to be this person who's observing the world, well, you get sucked into an ideology, you get sucked into a group, and then you can't see things for what they really are. And I think, Cormac, maybe he couldn't bear the loneliness anymore in his old age. And that's why he joined the Santa Fe Institute. And of course they accepted it because it makes them more mysterious and makes them more cool and this and that. Like, oh, we got these two fucks in the library on their typewriters. You can hear them. They're tic-tacking away, but I just hate that he got sucked into that. I really do. And it seems that he suffered for it as well. But I mean, well, by the way, what is that last line he wrote on his Olivetti? That was depressing.
Yeah, dude, I wrote that down. Let me grab that real quick.
Yeah, I think the line was, "I don't know, Frank. We'll just leave him hanging there, I guess." Something like that.
That's it. I don't know, Frank. I say we just leave him hanging there. Now, I don't know what that was in reference to. I don't know if that's part of a story that he was starting, but it don't seem very hopeful, does it?
Well, yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any sense because his characters are so courageous in the face of I always told you I thought Ed Tom Bell was a metaphor for his psyche, where he wanted to put this character up against the ultimate evil and see what happened in this story. And I don't know how many iterations he had of that ending, but it doesn't end with the guy saving the day. And in fact, because I've reread No Country for Old Men like 6 or 7 times now, and one of the things I caught is that Ed Tom Bell, the sheriff, after he retires in the book, he actually keeps going back to the site where he discovered the drug deal, and he digs through the dirt and he'll find shell casings and this and that, and he'll just stand out there for hours. And it's so tremendously sad.
It's very sad. It's very sad.
Well, I hope he had some happy times at least with his son at the end. It sounds like those were happy days at least with his son John, who seems like a great guy. And I'm glad he, the son that he supposedly abandoned. I hope they had some peace. But I mean, other than that, I mean, I don't know. I thought the article was kind of a bunch of junk, and the prose stunk.
I didn't like the writing of the article. I wish they had just been an interview with this woman. Just let her say what she has to say. Obviously, people want to hear this. I didn't enjoy hearing it, but I wanted to hear what she had to say. We know so little about Cormac's private life. Cormac seemed to not mind that she say her piece and seemed to encourage her to say whatever she wanted to say, which is kind of fascinating. It's not necessarily what you'd expect. I was going to say something else. Gosh, man. It'll come back to me or it won't, man. It's, I mean, there's a sadness to the whole thing, right?
I guess he was corrupted by money. I think he was corrupted by money because once he got the money changed him. He lived poor for so long. I think he had a money complex from growing up as a rich kid, and he went off and was destitute for so long that once he fell into money, he really had a hard time with accepting the fact that he was getting paid for, his talent and his gift, and he was being recognized for that. And it seems to have done a real number on the guy, to the point where he couldn't even take it anymore near the end. Hence, just getting hammered all the time and hanging out with physicists.
Well, counterpoint, before he was, when he was sober and wasn't wealthy, he was running around Mexico with a 16-year-old girl.
Yeah. But But then he was writing Sutri at the time, which the prose is very difficult. I'm sure he's very stressed.
Beautiful. Yeah. I would be too if the FBI were hunting me. Wouldn't you? I'd be really stressed.
He had the balls on him to do what he did. He must have really loved this lady.
Well, she says something that I think that struck me as absolutely true about, because they asked, well, wasn't McCarthy scared that he's running around with this underage girl in Mexico and that the FBI are hunting you? And she said, no, he liked it. He thought it was exciting. And I was like,
he was insane. Yeah.
Well, that totally rang true, right? If you're a rich kid, you've never been in any trouble, you've always fancied the outlaw life, then yeah, it probably does. It probably is exciting to think, oh, now I'm being hunted by the FBI. New York didn't care about me before. Maybe they will now.
Yeah, I mean, look, he knew it was wrong. He knew it was wrong, but look, to quote Woody Allen, the heart wants what it wants. And to quote Big Country.
Yeah, I would rather quote Big Country there. I'll let you quote Woody Allen. Again, the worst defense attorney in literary history. Ben Avery's coming. He's going to make sure you're exonerated. Your Honor, who among us hasn't run off to Mexico with
how about
an underage girl?
How about My Cousin Benny?
Oh boy,
My Cousin Benny. It's the My Cousin Vinny movie with Joe Pesci, where he's the lawyer, but it's My Cousin Benny. I show up. I have like a clown kind of big tie on. I'm drunk. I stumble in. I'm like, Your Honor. Your Honor, all the pretty horses.
Dawn hitting you over the head with her handbag.
Your Honor, all the pretty. The scene with Blevins was inspired by this young girl over here. Without her, we don't have Blevins.
Who's the prosecuting attorney? Roxanne Gay?
Yeah, and Claudine Gay. They're both bringing down.
They're both tag teaming it.
Oh, I'm sure. By the way, Roxanne Gay is having a field day right now. She's so elated about the news that Cormac McCarthy is a pedophile. She's probably closed down every Sizzler in a 5-mile radius of her home.
I actually checked in on our social media, and she hasn't mentioned it. Oddly enough.
Oh, interesting.
I was expecting a banger. I thought she'd uncork one.
Yeah, what about there's another lady, her name's like Pillow, something Pillow.
Oh yeah. Now
is it Megan Pillow?
She's tweeted a good deal about both it and me.
Has she? Hold on, let me look her up. Do you not want me to look her up?
No.
I won't look her up.
Let's not you know what? This is not someone who I'm on good terms with, but I don't want to send hate. I don't want to send hate her way. I'd rather not do that.
That's very big of you.
Say that some people are licking their chops and other people are nursing their wounds, and I'm in the, I just think it's sad. I feel bad for the woman. It's just not. There's no winners here. There are no winners here.
Well, so she retweeted I'll just show you this retweet, and we can talk about this real quick because this is interesting in terms of the discourse. Someone, and Meg Pillow reposted this, says, feel very bad for this woman, not only because of the facts of her life, but because the public will not respond to the story in the way she hopes, and because she went with a profiler who is so immensely and obnoxiously pleased with himself. So what are her intentions here? I'm kind of confused now in terms of the lady.
That's a retweet. What Sleepy Disease says there is probably pretty accurate. I don't think the public is going to respond to the story the way she hopes. And I think the profiler is obnoxiously pleased with himself. So I'd say I'd have to agree with that.
Well, how do you think she wanted people to respond to this?
Well, I mean, she's telling in the framing of her story, she doesn't say that Cormac she pushes back constantly against the interviewer asking her, do you feel like he was grooming you? She said no. She said, I loved him. I couldn't have been with anybody else. And twice she said, he saved my life. Now, that's not the way I feel about that story, but that's the way Miss Brett feels about the story, at least in the essay. Maybe she'll write a memoir. I'd read it. I'd be interested to see what she says.
I'm interested as well. It seems that so you do believe this woman did have a relationship.
I do. Now, that's based on me trusting Vanity Fair and this writer enough to. But here's why I believe it. I've heard pieces of this story. Again, not the woman's age, not the woman's name, Augusta Brett. I've heard I've heard rumors about this, but rumors are rumors. You never know what's true. And the writer from Vanity Fair looked through a bunch of love letters he wrote her. That has to be, other things weren't fact checked, but that would have been fact checked. And the last thing Vanity Fair wants is to be sued by John Francis McCarthy and McCarthy's estate. Many of Cormac's friends are attorneys. And I think if the basic facts of that story were untrue, I think Vanity Fair would not have gone forward with the story.
That's fair. I wish I can't bring up the article because I was going to talk about the thing with John Francis McCarthy at the end. I forget but I'm not going to pay them money.
Yeah, it's like the writer of this story for a feature like that probably got 25,000, which sounds like a chunk of money, but it sounds like a chunk of money, but he's not a staff writer. Nice.
Based.
Well dropped, sir.
Based.
Yeah. But maybe he gets to publish, maybe if he's lucky, 2 or 3 stories like that a year. So it's pretty hard to live off that kind of money if you're trying to live off 40 to 60,000 a year in New York City.
You blow my mind when you were like, because you had me read Gilead by Robinson. What's her name? Mary Lynn.
Great. Marilyn Robinson. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. And you were like, yeah, she's a professor here. I'm like, isn't this one of the best selling books ever? You're like, yeah. I'm like, why is she a professor? And you're like, because she needs health insurance. I didn't realize that almost every single writer except for 5 have to grade papers, which seems like a colossal waste of their talent and their time.
Hey, tell me about it.
Because, dude, it's like every single thing I've read from you is amazing. Your novel, All God's Children,
sweet.
It's insanely good. I think about that book a lot, actually. I need to reread that next year. It's very good.
It's very sweet.
If you're into Civil War, spoiler, one of the main characters in it is a woman. I just want my audience to know that.
Oh no! What?
And
so, dude, I'm considered one of the lucky ones. I have a tenure track job where I teach creative writing. There are tons of people that have published a novel or a couple. And they're really, I know several who are literally on welfare. They literally are on government assistance. And they're publishing books with Penguin Random House. I'm not kidding.
Man, I did not. Yeah, it breaks my heart to hear that because there's so much talent out there and there's no financial reward for it. Unfortunately.
Well, I live a very comfortable life. I don't complain. If I should be slapped. I have a really cushy job. I get my publishers put out my stuff and I'm glad that it finds readers. And so, I think Jonathan Franzen, Cormac McCarthy, Stephen King, and then a couple of, more genre writers are the people, J.K. Rowling are the ones that can make a big living. The rest, it's not huge money. I've gotten big advances for books, and I've gotten advances that were smaller.
And I know where that money goes immediately. You
goes to guitars.
It goes to guitars. You're quite the guitar addict.
Quite the guitar addict.
Your house, I've never been to your home. I imagine it looks like the inside of a Guitar Center.
It literally looks like a combination, like Guitar Center library, freaking pawn shop. It's just guns and guitars and books and amps. Philip Meyer, I would never say what he got for the Sun, but he got a really, really great advance for the Sun. But then, like, you know, his next book is coming out next year. I don't want to say too much about that because it hasn't been publicly announced. But, you know, you get a big advance and then you have to portion that out over, the Sun came out in 2013. That was 11 years ago, right? So you get this big chunk of money a lot of the time. And if you don't have a teaching job like me, you're literally having to, like, say, okay, 40% of that immediately goes to taxes. And then you're giving yourself a salary, and it ends up not being nearly as much money as you think it is. So
yeah, but people go, well, Stephen King writes a book every 3 months. Why is it taking this guy 7 years? Why did it take James Joyce 7 years to write a Portrait of the Artist? Right. It's only that thick. What the hell?
Stephen King, his books are written by ChatGPT.
I mean, Cormac had a famous thing in a publication I found from like 1961 or something where he goes, I could actually finish a book every single month and I could write 12 books a year. And he goes, at the end of 10 years, I'd have, 96 books or whatever the hell it is, or 120 books. Right. He goes, the odds are one of them would be a bestseller. And then I could just make a living and a name off of that. He goes, or I could, try to make sure every single book is the best thing I can do before it goes out the door. And
that's right. He'd rather do that and abduct a 16-year-old girl and head to Mexico.
Oh man, I mean, it's not it, but this is the thing. Here's the grown-up realization I'm having, so I can be a calm, cool, collected guy who stays in the pocket.
That's a double chunk.
I want the confidence, and I want the calm demeanor of someone who, understands that people are very complex, and the truth is not apparently, clear all the time. Every situation, we were never there. People tell stories, and as Wittgenstein said about language, it's not the best tool for communicating, right? And this is one of the banes of our. This is why we rely on people like Cormac to express these big ideas that are where the moral isn't so clear, and what's right and wrong is not so clear. What happened is not so clear.
Counselor, we appreciate that, but we've now found Cormac McCarthy guilty of 15 counts of pedophilia. Yeah.
But what about ambiguity? What about it? What about the unification of opposites? The marriage of heaven and hell.
Counselor, if there's another bullshit outburst like that, I'm going to have you locked up right next to Cormac. Bruh.
Well, I think we're going to take it. Oh, yeah. Go ahead. I would love to keep talking to you.
I mean, no. Obviously, people are complex, and there's a lot of gray. Running off to Mexico with a 16-year-old girl is not one of those things. And I think it is what it is, and we're gonna find out more of the next couple of years when these biographies come out.
I hope I don't I hope I don't go down to the Whitliff collection in San Marcos, and I start digging through, and I go, oh, whales and men, oh, this is cool, and then all of a sudden, all I hear is. I want to draw a clear line in the sand, by the way. It's not like Cormac McCarthy was like Epstein or something. He's not Matt Gaetz. He's not this he's not using and abusing like 12, 13-year-old girls at like these, eyes wide shut child sex parties where women are being trafficked and stuff. He fell in love with a 16-year-old poolside of a motel when he was in the thick of it. He was eating toothpaste and, eating his shoes and trying to write Sutri and going, fuck, why'd I work on this novel for 25 years? Is anybody even going to give a shit? And even when he prepared himself for when he published that book that nobody was going to give a shit. And then he went right to work on Blood Meridian. Which was another 8 years of turmoil. So the man was grinded into a diamond so he could shine brightly. And, he didn't have all his faculties. We'll just put it there, I guess.
Yeah. That's certainly an opinion that someone can have on Earth.
Well, I will say, who's laughing now? Because first, at the end of the day, Cormac can look at all of us and say, he ended up with 10. Right. He ended up with 10 million at the end of it, and and I will say this: it didn't seem that he minded that all this comes out when he's dead and he can't defend himself. So maybe he would say people will understand. I will say a couple days before this, by the way, weirdly enough, I was reading about all the stuff in regards to J.D. Salinger falling in love with I think a 14-year-old girl.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know about that.
Well, I hope I'm not speaking ill of the dead here. Hold on, let me look that up.
No, you're probably right.
J.D. Salinger girlfriend. Joyce Maynard was the girlfriend of J.D. Salinger. Maynard was. Oh wait. She was 18 when he invited her to live with him, but it was much. He contacted her much earlier than that.
Yikes!
I think. I'm not really sure right now.
I just like
I'm
that
sorry.
Your Cormac defense. I like that your Cormac defense is at least he wasn't Matt Gaetz.
I mean, Matt Gaetz.
I heard that nigga was a kid diddler.
He is a kid diddler, apparently. Allegedly.
I met someone in DC who said, anything that you've heard about Matt Gaetz, it's all true.
Yeah.
That was someone who works in politics in DC because, I always know about the stuff with comedians because I live out here and I know all of them. I hear rumors years before things come out. It's the same way in DC, except, the rumors can actually affect like world events and stuff, and it actually matters.
Hey, I'll say I don't know anything about Matt Gaetz, but I'll say this about that. He don't look innocent. He
definitely doesn't look innocent, man. That guy.
He don't look innocent.
That guy, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, you look at him and you're like, that guy parties.
I mean, I didn't come on here. I didn't want to start my first ever Ben Avery Presents the Show with defending
right.
a statutory rapist, but here we are only in the first hour of this show. And
well, glad that I'm a part of it, Ben. Thank you for
I mean, you told me, I'm not going to come on. I mean, you want to clarify that real quick? You did not come on here to defend Cormac. No. And I don't think he would defend his behavior, by the way.
No, you did enough of defending Cormac for all of us. So I feel like, your work, Ben Avery and Associates, your work here is done.
He's done a lot for me, and he has no mouth, and I will be his mouthpiece because he's dead. So I will defend him, which is something, if he were alive, he definitely would not ask for.
Yeah. I'll be passing on the fire to you, Ben. I'll pass. I had a dream that my father rode past me, and he had a little pedophile and a little horn like people used to carry, and I knew that he was taking the kid out there and all that cold and all that dark, and I knew the kid would be there when I got there.
It's funny, by the way. I wish Norm Macdonald were alive today to talk about this because this was a secret. Norm had 2 secret relationships that we know of that he never spoke about. Well, one of the relationships, he was actually close with Bob Dylan.
Oh, damn.
And
that's awesome.
And also Cormac McCarthy. He was friends with both Loch Ness Monsters. with these myths. I mean, because they just had so much respect for him. But, you know, Norm never spoke about it publicly. He had too much respect for these guys.
Damn, pour one out to a real G.
Yeah, so I wonder, I hope Cormac, I hope a biography doesn't come out that he was like a serial pedophile or something.
I just love that you're trying to land this plane and all I see are two Boeing jets headed for the Twin Towers. That's all. All right, brother, I'm out. Thank you so much for having me on. You're the best.
You want to plug anything? You're a novella coming up, which is very good.
No.
Yeah,
I'll plug my butt later on, but
all right.
That's about it.
Subscribe
All
to
right,
Aaron's Substack at the very least.
Thanks, man.
All
Take
right.
care, guys.
See you, Aaron.
All right,
Love you,
peace.
buddy.